The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and my name is Nathan, and I'm the leader of the PASS BI virtual chapter, and we will start this meeting after I go through a few slides. And I want to thank Soheil for coming forward and doing his presentation again in the virtual chapter. I really appreciate Soheil for coming forward. Uh, Before I hand over the session to Soheil, let me go through a couple of slides. And this session is being recorded, and after this presentation we will post it in our YouTube channel, and then you can watch it. If you have any questions, please type in the chat area, and I will try to read it to Soheil. And first, let me welcome you all for attending this session on a Friday evening in US time and wherever you are. So the PASS Summit 2016 is going to held in Seattle from October 25th to 28th, and you can still use the virtual chapter uh, discount code, and it's VC15B or D5, and we will, if you use, they'll give you $150 discount. And at the end of the meeting, I will pick someone who is attending this session, and we will pick the winner, and then I will announce it in our next email who is the winner, and then they will get the $25 Amazon gift card. I will send you the details how to get the gift card. So the criteria is here to attend the entire session. So, and if you are coming to the SQL Summit, there is a Birds of Feather Luncheon where you can go and register and meet with other MVPs, peers, and everyone. So if you want to, if you are attending and if you are interested in meeting other MVPs, please, register. And the PASS boutique is open, and now you can buy the, the stuffs from the PASS e-store. And there are a lot of virtual chapters planned for next month. And I think, the business intelligence virtual chapter next meeting is planning on the week of October 21st. Gil from Chicago is going to present on sentimental analysis with Power BI on the day. So after this meeting, this webinar, we will send you the details for registering that webinar. So it's going to be another interesting one. And November we are planning for some we have another speaker, and most probably we will mention what's the topic. So these are all the webinars going to happen in October. And there are a lot of SQL virtual chapters. Depending on your interest, you can become a member of data science or database administration or DBA fundamentals, and there are a lot of webinars going on. So that will really help you, in your area. And there is a lot of SQL Saturdays going to happen in October, and the one in US is going to be on October 1st in Minnesota and Pittsburgh, October 8th on Orlando, and they have some nice speakers in there. And Orlando is going to have the 10th year SQL Saturday, and they are the first one who started the SQL Saturday. So this year is the 10th year anniversary. And October 22nd, Oregon. And so these are all the upcoming SQL Saturdays. You can become a volunteer in SQL, the SQL Pass, and then like, hosting this webinar or sending the email or like, other any related work. And then, if you go and register in the volunteer.sqlpass.org, depending on the need that, virtual chapter leader will request the SQL Pass headquarters, and then they will, give the details. With that, I am going to make Soheil as the presenter, and he will take it over from here. Soheil, you can.
Yep.
Okay, and can you share your screen?
Yep.
Okay, we can see your screen, and it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. And hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on what part of the world that you are in. Today, I will walk you through in some interesting details of Power BI desktop model and also some aspects of Power BI service Q&A. The focus of this session would be more on practical applications of the technology rather than fancy slides and presentation. So we will have many different demos in today's session. We will create a very simple model in Power BI desktop that will gradually improve in each part of the session. But before diving into the subject, let me introduce myself. I'm Soheil Bakhshi, Business Intelligence and Data Warehouse Consultant, Microsoft MCP, MCSE, MCSA, MCITP, and MCTS. I have several years of experience in technology, especially in data visualization, Microsoft BI Stack, data warehousing, and Microsoft Cloud technologies like Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL Data Warehouse, and Power BI. I'm based in Aotearoa, which is the native name of New Zealand, and as you know, New Zealand is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. You can find more about me in my LinkedIn profile or on Twitter, or you can visit my website, which I occasionally post technical articles on it. The agenda of today is at the end of today you will have an idea to answer some questions like how to browse your Power BI desktop model in Excel and also in SQL Server Management Studio, and also how to import your Power BI desktop model into an SSAS tabular. I reckon this is the interesting one. And then I will talk about how you can use synonyms in Power BI desktop to make a better experience of using Q&A. And in the next part, I will show you how to use query parameters in Power BI desktop for deployment. And the last but not least, how to set up and use data classification in Power BI service. And we will have Q&A as well. The requirements for today's session: for all presentation modules, we will need to have a Power BI desktop and a Power BI account at least. And additionally, to be able to browse Power BI desktop in Excel and SSMS, we obviously need to have Microsoft Excel 2010 and above, and SQL Server Management Studio 2016. Previous versions of SQL Server won't do the job for us, so we need to have 2016. And for importing Power BI desktop model into SSAS Tabular, we need to have an instance of Tabular 2016 installed on our machine, and SQL Server Data Tools 2015. And again, prior versions of SSDT won't work for us. Let's go through the first demo and talk about why we need to browse a Power BI model in Excel. In general, Excel is a flexible application which can be easily used for integrating data coming from different sources. One of the reasons to analyze data in Excel from Power BI is to take advantage of specific Excel features. You might have many other reasons to use Excel to analyze Power BI model. So one of the reasons is if the users can connect to Power BI, I mean PBIX file, not the Power BI service, Power BI desktop file, using Excel. This would perhaps more for testing or ad hoc or maybe troubleshooting, or it is just similar to how when you connect to SSAS tabular model from Excel. And you can use rich features available in pivot table, just like creating name sets and etc. That are not still available in Power BI. And to be able to browse Power BI in Excel, we will need to have a port number. Why the port number? I explain you. It is because whenever you open Power BI, it doesn't matter if you have connected to any data sources or not. At the first step, Power BI creates a local instance of SSAS. You know, it runs a file named msm.dsrv.exe, which is a local instance of SSAS, and it uses X velocity, so it is the tabular model of SSAS. Let's go through the demo. So, as I said, we will create a very simple model in tabular, in Power BI, and to do that, I'm going to connect to my SQL Server instance on my machine. And yep, SQL 2016, and I'm going to import data into the model. I'm using AdventureWorks 2016 CTP3, and to keep it as simple as possible, I'm gonna load just fact sales and my date dimension. How we can find the port? As I said, as far as we run Power BI desktop, it runs a local instance of SQL Server Analysis Services, and this is the file for the service msm.dsrv.exe, and as you see, I have 7 different instances of SSAS, so one for multidimensional and the other one for tabular model. So I have 3 different versions of SQL Server, 4 different versions of SQL Server, and tabular wasn't available in 2008, so I have 7 instances of the service, and this one, which is ran under my username, it is a local instance that is run with Power BI. So obviously we can get the port number using PID number and the process name using command line. I blocked it in my website, and you can go and have a look at it and read it. But what if you have not, you don't have access to command line prompt? Just imagine you're working on a customer site and you are not allowed to open command prompt. There is a very easier way. Whenever we open Power BI Desktop, it uses a local workspace on our machine, which is on the user and on the app data. App data is a hidden folder, and then we need to navigate to local and Microsoft, and right after that Power BI Desktop and Analysis Services Workspace. And there's a folder under the workspace that we can open it. Under data, there is a file with the name of msm.dsrv.port. If we open this file, we can find the port. So here is the port number, and this is exactly what we need to be able to connect from Excel to this model. Very simple model that we created without any sort of visualizations on it. So I'm going to open Excel, and what I need to do is from data I want to connect to an instance of Analysis Services. So it is localhost followed by port number. And as you can see, I connected to this Power BI model. Click next and then finish. And use a pivot table. Here you go. I have my dim date and fact internet sales. It is easy, isn't it? I want to show you something more interesting. If I open show fields here, you can see we just imported two tables, date dimension and fact sales. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4 other local date tables and another date template. Why is that? I explain you. It is because in Power BI, I enabled an option to make Power BI create different date dimensions for me, and it is really good as it takes care of role-playing dimensions, which is date dimension is one of the most popular role-playing dimensions. And where is that? In Power BI, on the options, on the load data, time intelligence, auto date time. And if you hover over on the information icon, it says automatically create hidden date table for each field in the model which has date or date time data type, which means I have 4 columns in my model, which is correct. So I'm not too sure if it is the most efficient way to do that. Maybe I have I don't know, I have 20 date type columns in my model, and I tried it. It will literally create 20 different local date time tables, but it is not a big deal. I will talk about this later. But I have ship date here, order date and due date, and in my date dimension I have full date alternate key. Another thing that I want to talk about is that Power BI can detect the measures. In DAX we have 2 types of measures. We have implicit measures and explicit measures. As you can see, if I click on sales amount, it aggregates the sales amount for the whole range using a sum, and Power BI does it automatically. But what happens in Excel? As you can see, I have just dimensions here, and I do not have any measures. And if I click on sales amount, it doesn't aggregate it automatically. So what is important here, we need to create explicit measures, which means we have to create a new measure and say total sales equal to sum of sales amount, and let's create another one for total sales year to date equal to total year to date of sum sales amount over dim date and filter by all dim date. Yep. And I have two explicit measures now. If I switch back to Excel and refresh, I'll see those two explicit measures are added to Excel now. So I can now use them to slice and dice, and as you can see, I have total sales for year to date and total sales. It doesn't look nice, so I can sort my English month name in the modeling tab by month number of year. And if I go back and refresh it in Excel, I have everything here. So you can do whatever you want in Excel, and we are connected, live connected into a Power BI desktop model. And the next module that I want to talk about is querying Power BI desktop model in Management Studio. We can query Power BI desktop model using DAX or MDX in Management Studio. So it could be interesting for some of you guys that are more familiar with MDX. So you can also run DMVs, Dynamic Management Views, inside Management Studio to discover lots of information about your Power BI data model. DMVs are extremely useful to see how your model is compressed, the space used by different columns or tables, and so forth. So let's jump through this part of the demo. So as I said, we need to have Management Studio 2016. So again, I have the port number, and I'm gonna connect to analysis services and the local host followed by port number. As you can see, there is a random GUID database name, and under the tables I can see all the tables that I imported. So as you can imagine, I can easily browse this database, and it is using MDX in the background now. So I have my measures, and I can put my measures and slice them by year and English month name. Or I can open an MDX script and run an MDX script that I written a very simple MDX script before, so I can run it, and here you go, I have the results. Or I can run a DAX, but I need to open an MDX. So evaluate all. So let's say I want to see what is in this table, what I have in this table, what sort of data it is. Yep, and I wrote DAX. This is DAX, this is MDX, and this is how we browse the model in SSMS. And let's query another one. Yep, so, and as you can see, it is started from 2011. If I open another table, this started year would be different, and the reason I will explain this later when I talk about importing Power BI model into SSAS. But for now, it is a calculated table using DAX statements, and it uses calendar function in DAX. So the start date is different here. And I told you that you can run DMVs, so I've written a very simple DMV as well, so that we can see the storage consumed by tables, each column, and bytes. And there are a lot of other things that you can do in Management Studio if you want. I'll leave it for you guys because I need to cover lots of other things today. But one thing that I want you to have a look really is server properties. If you right-click on the instance, and as you can see, it detects your instance of Power BI as a SharePoint. So let's see what we have under properties. So the server mode is SharePoint, and if you go under General, you can see lots of interesting things about your model, and especially if you enable Advanced, you can see lots of different things here. And let me tell you that you cannot literally you cannot change anything here because as you might know, the port number is a random port number, and whenever you close your Power BI desktop, that port number closes, and whenever you reopen it, a new port number will be assigned to the instance, to the local instance of SSAS that Power BI ran. So whatever you see here, it is just sort of information you can get for your Power BI desktop, but you cannot change it because obviously even if you change it, it doesn't matter because it is not saved in any servers, you know. It is a local instance of SSAS. And let's go through next module, which is importing Power BI desktop model to SSAS Tabular, which is the interesting one from my perspective. In this part, you will see how to import your pre-built Power BI desktop model into SSAS Tabular. The reason for that is that imagine that you have a potentially new customer, and you know that the final technology that your customer needs will be SSAS Tabular, but you don't have enough time to create a proof of concept in tabular model, and there is no need for it because Power BI is out there, and you can so you can create a proof of concept, a flashy proof of concept in Power BI desktop in very quickly, and then you can present it in front of the customer, and you successfully will grasp their attention and trust. So imagine then they signed contract with your company, and you're getting ready to start a new project with them. Well, it would be highly beneficial if you could import your Power BI desktop model into an SSAS Tabular instance, so that you won't need to rebuild everything in Tabular from scratch. So it would potentially save lots of development time and costs. But I need to let you know, this is a big red here, it is not supported by any Microsoft BI tools whatsoever. So you use this method in your own risk, on your own risk, but it is still fun. Okay, let's jump through the demo and see how we can do that. Okay, so we still need to use Management Studio to start importing my model into Tabular. So first of all, I need to connect to my instance of Tabular, and as I said, you need to have an 2016 Tabular model. So what I'm going to do here is that I want to script the database, which is connected, which is literally my Power BI desktop database. So I want to script it, script database, and I want to copy it into clipboard, and then I will create a new XMLA query and paste the code here. And at the first look, you will see that it is not an XMLA, traditional XMLA language at all. Yes, it is JSON. So from 2016 and above, SQL Server uses JSON. So what I want to do here, I can literally change lots of things here. You can see it contains the whole database structure. But I'm interested in changing the database name and change it to Power BI on the hood. And what I need to do is just press F5 and run it. Yep. And when I refresh, you can see my database is created here. And what I have under this database, I have connections, I have all tables, and everything is imported here. About the roles, guys, if you created role level security and created some roles in your Power BI desktop, they will be added into your model as well, into your tabular model as well. So what I need to do is I need to process this database, but it won't get processed because these connections are Power BI connections which are different from what we have in tabular models. So I need to open SSDT and go to project and create a new project. Let's say Power BI under the hood, and I want to import the model from server. And it is interesting, guys. With the new version of SSDT, Microsoft added an option in tabular model to work on an integrated workspace, which is exactly the same thing that I showed you in Power BI Desktop. It runs a local instance of tabular model on your machine. And traditionally, we just had the workspace server option, which was existing, which was the existing instance of tabular, and you could set it up to put it in somewhere else. But tabular model needs space to play with your model, and after you process it and you deploy it, it will create it in your server. So I'm going to stick with the integrated workspace, and again, server name. This time, server name is my instance of SQL Server, which is SQL 2016 tabular, and my database here and another nice thing added to the latest version of SSDT, Tabular Model Explorer. I can see my measures now here, relationships. It is super handy. I loved it. And interesting part, as you can see, all of these local tables that Power BI created for us are actually calculated tables. If I want to see what was the formula, in the formula bar I can see it used calendar function, DAX function, and the start date and end date, and I can see here it is to supporting due date. So it is nicely supported role-playing dimension. So I'm not gonna delete this table. I'm just gonna rename it to due date, and the other one ship date. This one, I don't need this one because I already have my date dimension. So I can get rid of it. And the last one, which is order date. So I already have my role-playing dimensions, and I don't need this template at all. Maybe you need it in your case, but for the purpose of this demo, we don't need it. And the last thing that we need to do is to mark the table as a date table. So it is a date table, mark as date table, and I need to do that for all of my date tables. Just imagine if it was a properly designed Power BI model, it saves a lot of time for us. And the other thing that I need to change is the data source. So I need to build the data source, and I need to connect to my instance of SQL Server. Oops. Yeah, I need to change the provider first, and then SQL 2016, and Windows, yeah, test connection successful, and impersonation. Machine name. I need to put my machine name and the impersonation followed by username. So, and sorry guys. I need to do the same for the other data source. Impersonation. Okay, now we set up everything. If everything is okay, I would be able to process my model. And as you can see, it is processed now. So if I go back to Management Studio, I can now browse my tabular model, which is imported from Power BI, and there should be something wrong here, but you will be able to do that. It is literally imported. Maybe I haven't deployed it first. Yeah, I haven't deployed it. I need to deploy my model first, and yeah, and the deployment, yeah. Okay, so there is nothing wrong here. Yep. Success. Okay, calendar year and English month by name. Okay, so we successfully imported our Power BI desktop model into SSAS Tabular. But I need to let you know, guys, if you used any sort of Power Query in your Power BI desktop model, you will need to remove them. So if you created or imported a local table in Power BI, I mean, if you just use this button, enter data, it literally creates a table using M language. You need to remove it, or you need to convert it to something that DAX can understand and tabular model can understand. And the other bottleneck here can be different versions of DAX available in Power BI and your SSAS tabular model. So for instance, in a date, I can show you a very quick sample. I added, yeah. In here, as it is a data type, I can use fully qualified function name. So if I put year here, it makes my formula, wrong, but I'm just talking about this part. And you might need this. So if you create a calculated table and if you want to create a new column, let me show you. It is better, otherwise some of you might get confused. So if I create a new table and use calendar auto, which creates a new table for me. Look, I have calendar auto here. Let's add a new column and say it is order date dot year, which will add the year of my date here. This won't be, it is not supported in tabular model, I mean the current version of tabular model. So you need to be careful about your M language and the version of DAX that you are using in Power BI desktop, but it is still fun and it can still potentially save lots of your development time to develop something, a project in tabular model. So I'm gonna move forward and go to the next part of the demo, which is Power BI synonyms. And Power BI synonyms can significantly improve Q&A results and query experience in Power BI service after you publish your model into the service. So with synonyms, we can add some other forms of names for our tables, columns, and measures in Power BI desktop model, which makes using Q&A even easier for our customers. Just imagine a real customer, the end user. They might not have any idea of the table names and the column names or the measures that we use. So, for instance, in airplane sector, they have lots of abbreviations, and they might not be that familiar with the column names, and we can use synonyms and put these as aliases, and after defining separate list of common names used by the customer for tables, columns, and measures, we can, after we publish this model into Power BI service, they can use Q&A much more easier. So let's go back to our Power BI model, and where you can set up synonyms is in relationships view. Under relationships view, you just need to select the table that you want and click on synonyms, and let's change sales amount. As you can see, it detects sales amount with a space on it, but I might need to have total sales as well, or even just sales. And the interesting part here is that we can use different languages. So for instance, I want to put total amount in Spanish. I used Google Translate. I have no idea if it is not correct for you Spanish guys. Excuse me, but it is what Google Translate gave me. So I can copy this and I can put it in synonyms. And after I publish this model into Power BI service, you will see that I can use different languages in Q&A. So now I need to save my model, and I save it in desktop Power BI under the hood V2, and I'm gonna publish it in Power BI under the hood workspace. Okay. And in my Power BI, I have this report, which I can pin it and create a new dashboard for it. Power BI on the hood. And as I browse this dashboard, in the question bar, I can use that Spanish name of total date and say by year. So it is a combination of English and Spanish now. Or I can, it should create a chart for me. So, yeah, let's try another one. Total sales by year, yes, work. And I can change chart type by typing bar. And I can now pin it to my dashboard. So that's how we can use synonyms in Power BI Desktop and how it works in Q&A in Power BI Service. The next part of today's demo is Power BI Query Parameters, which is another interesting one. With query parameters, we can now create parameters in Power BI Desktop and use them in various cases. For instance, we can now define a query referencing a parameter to retrieve different data sets. Or we can reference parameters via filter rows. Generally speaking, we can reference parameters via data sources, filter rows, keep rows, remove rows, and replace rows. In addition, parameters can be loaded into the data model so that we can reference them from measures, calculated columns, calculated tables, and report elements. As you can imagine, the use of query parameters can be really vast, and I can speak a complete session, at least a complete session, to look at Power BI Desktop query parameters and cool things that we can do with them. But in this session, we don't have enough time. It is just about 13 minutes left of our meeting today. So I'm in today's session. I just want to look at a very specific use case, which is deploying your Power BI Desktop model using query parameters. So suppose you have different customers using the same database schema. I mean, you might have one customer which has lots of different database schemas, and the database schemas are the same, but the schemas are hosted by different SQL Server instances, and even the database names are different. One way to implement this for the customer is to create a Power BI Desktop model connected to an instance of SQL Server and loaded data from a database, and then copy that model for any of the other individual servers and databases that the customers have, and modify the connections and database names, and save many different instances of Power BI, which, to be honest, doesn't look that nice and doesn't look professional. The other way is using Power BI query parameters to parameterize a data source. In this case, we can easily switch between different data sources, then publish the reports to the customers' Power BI service. They might have different Power BI accounts for different databases. Maybe your customer has lots of other customers and they are supporting a multi-tenancy sort of thing, and you know, so in that case they might have many different Power BI accounts, or maybe they just created different workspaces to support their customers. And what we can do now is, what we want to do is switch back to Power BI desktop, to our Power BI desktop model, and I need to go to Query Editor, and in Query Editor I have manage parameters, and what I want to do is to create this new parameter named server name, and type of this parameter is text, and it is coming from a list, and there's SQL 2016, and I have another one, SQL 2014, and the default one is 2016 and current value 2016. And I want to add another one named database, and again type is text coming from the list, and let me just literally copy the database names here to avoid any typos. I need to connect to my other instance. Oops. Yep. And default instance is SQL 2016, and click OK. Close and apply. Okay, what I can do here is that I want to switch between different data sources. So my current data source is 2016. Let me add some okay, so I added year into this visual to make sure everything is working okay. So I'm gonna change the parameter. I can easily switch between those. Oh, yep, I forgot to do something else. I need to change the data sources as well. So just get back, sorry guys, get back to Query Editor, and on the source, yep, you can see here it is, I now use parameter as server and then database, and I need to do the same for the other one as well. Database name, I made a mistake. Sorry about that. The second one should be database name. Everything's okay now. What is... Okay. Server name, database name. Yep, it is. And close and apply. Doesn't match the rows. Cancelled. I reckon I have a problem here. It should be resolved, but not now. I do not have enough time. But by the way, you can, sorry about that guys, but things happens in presentations. if you just click on edit parameters, you can switch between different data sources and can select tables, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work for now. Let me jump to the other, and after that, if it worked, I can publish it to an a Power BI service account, and if I want to switch Power BI service account, I need to sign out from File and then sign in again with a different account and publish the model, which is refreshed by the new data into another Power BI service account. And let me jump through the demo, and if we had time at the end, I might come back to this part and resolve the issue. Okay, the next part that I want to talk about is Power BI data classification. What data classification really is, imagine in many corporations, depending on the type of data that is being used there, it could be different types of, the data can have different types of sensitivities that should be applied to that data. So for instance, some data might be okay to be shared externally outside of the company, but other data might not be shared even with the groups of people inside that corporation. So depending on your corporation, you might have different levels of sensitivity, like high sensitive data, medium sensitive data, low sensitive data, and so forth. So depending on what level of sensitivity, for instance, for high sensitive data, we should be really careful of who we are sharing that data with. In Power BI service, we can easily set up data classification in our dashboard. So anyone who is looking at the dashboard will have an idea how sensitive that dashboard and that data is, and who they can share that dashboard and or data with. So I want to let you know that it is not a security setting. It is just a sort of hint on top of your dashboard that, hey, look, this dashboard contains sensitive data and high sensitive data, and you cannot, to just remind you that you cannot share it with all people around you. So let's go and have a look. And to be able to set it up, you need to be your global Power BI admin and global Office 365 admin. To set someone as an admin in Office 365, so imagine you're working with a corporation and you need to define another admin to be able to set up these sort of things. So you need to click on Power BI menu, and then in admin it will navigate us to the admin portal panel, and under the users you can edit a user, and then select a user, and then under roles you can say edit and change the role to global admin. And after you made that change, if that user refreshes his Power BI service, he or she will be able to see this admin portal added to the settings menu. If you do not see this admin portal in the menu, that means you are not an admin, global admin of your Office 365 environment. So, and if you are the only admin, you need to go through troubleshooting, and maybe you need to add a DNS name in your control panel of your website, or an MX record in your DNS, and so forth. But if you can see this admin portal, to enable data classification, you need to click on admin portal, and under tenant settings, in the bottom there is data classification for dashboards, and I turn it on, and you can define your different levels of sensitivity and put abbreviation for it, and this tick means that it shows this abbreviation on top of your dashboard, and you can set a default. So for my test corporation, all data are set up as medium sensitivity, and so when your users open dashboard, they will be able to see that level of sensitivity on on top of their dashboard. I don't know why it transfers me to, let me refresh this. Okay, it worked finally. As you can see, it says medium sensitive. This dashboard is set up as a medium sensitive, so I know that I can share this internally, but as it is medium sensitivity, I cannot share it for external users. Okay guys, this is all about today's session, and thank you for attending this session. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help. Nathan?
There is a question from David Moss. It says, can the admin for 365 be a different user to the PBI environment?
Yes, as I showed you, yes. And if you integrated your Office 365 with Azure Active Directory, you can. It should be a user in your AD. Otherwise, if you haven't integrated your user, then yes, it can be another user that with which has a Power BI service account. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, I think that's the only question we have, and I really appreciate your time, Soheil, and thanks for your presentation. And soon we will have you in another one of our webinar. And
yes, sure.
Yep, and then
Yep.
I will pick a winner from the attendees, and then I will email in our. I will mention the lucky winner in our email, which will come out maybe in a day or two, and about the next presentation. So with that, we end this webinar, and have a good rest of the day. Thanks, Soheil. Bye.
Yep, no worries. Bye.